Hey, in this video, I want to show you how I used Python to translate a document using DeepL and get the status of it and then download it. Now, DeepL is probably one of the best translation services around, and thankfully they offer a couple of plans for you to do some testing and also really just do some pretty powerful translations. And under their free plan, you can translate as much as 500,000 characters per month, and even with the Pro plan, it's still a great price at $549, and you can translate a lot of characters. So check it out. And in this video, I want to show you how you can write a quick Python script to translate documents with relative ease using the functions available to you there. So I've already done a few of these tests, so you'll notice as we pop around the Visual Studio Code that there's some stuff there. But be that as it may, I'm going to clear out my little terminal here. First thing, I created a file called DeepLTranslate.py. I'm using Python 3, and with it I've pulled in a couple of imports, requests to do our basic API calls, some JSON stuff to pull down some data. So you'll see that in use in just a moment. But there's three basic methods in this file. There's a translate a document, so I'm going to pass a path to it, to a file, and do some stuff and then translate it. I'm going to get status of the document that's being translated, and then I'm also going to download the translation once it's all said and done. This program is called with three different action parameters, one of which is translate, the second is status, and the other is download. So in the first case, when we download or translate the document, what you'll do with this one is you'll pass the path. The path comes in as the argument to the method. So if you can see me, this is what the command looks like. We call Python 3 DeepLTranslate.py. We specify the action as translate, and then we pass a variable here, or a parameter that's pulled in as one of the arguments when the Python script runs. And so if I call translate, then what this is telling it to do is to call the translate doc method using that argument. And so the translate doc method, it will call in that path, open the file that's being requested, load up some parameters. Let's talk about these parameters for a minute. Now, to do a translation, you first have to indicate, you don't have to indicate the source language. It can detect that. But just to be clear with your programming, I would indicate the source language that you're expecting to use. The auth key. Now, in my case, I have the auth key stored as an environment variable. I highly recommend using this approach. Not only does it make it easier when you're not having to edit videos and hide keys, but also if you're using Docker or something, it's just an easy and clean way to keep your API keys on your machine without showing them on the screen. To do that, you just type in the export command and then the name of the variable and then the value that you want to set the variable to. So it just kind of gives you an idea of how you would set an environment variable that then you can call inside of your Python script to activate various methods in here. And so in my case, I've taken that auth key, pulled it off the environment, stored it in this variable, and then when I call this request.post method, I will pass the URL for translation, which is right up here. I will pass in the parameters that were just supplied here, and then I will of course pass in the file that was opened read-only, and as binary in this case, as bytes, to the parameter here. All right. And then when this is all done, I'm going to print out the response text just for the sake of logging. Just give me some sanity as I run it. But the more important thing is I load this data into a JSON object because I've pulled in the JSON library. And then with that, I'm able to print out the subsequent commands that will be run in order to check status of this upload request and also or translation request, and also to download the file. And so what we've done here is we've just used some expression language to do a format replacement. So we have Python 3, which is the command, and then we pass in this script that we have, this program we've created, which is this DeepLTranslate.py. We pass in the status variable in this case. So status again would be right here. The action will be status. And then we pass in some variables at the command line. And so we'll see this in action in just a moment. These are replaced with the response JSON object data, which was the document ID, and then the document key. So those get thrown into this command for me to copy and paste later on. And so subsequent to that, I will do a status check. This is what this command does. It goes in, again, pulls in these parameters, the auth key, the doc key that comes out of this, and sends it over as a GET request in this case. I'm also taking that URL from the top. I use expression language here to tell it I want to replace this variable with the actual document ID that gets passed when I call this method here from the command line. Right? So I'll call it the method from the command line. It'll pass it the status action. It will use the arguments on the command line at the second position and the third position and store those into in this case, the doc ID, which replaces that expression in the translate URL. And then the doc key goes in as one of the parameters to this method, to that. And then, of course, the allow redirects is there just in case. Actually, this is the download translation. Doc status is actually what we'd use, but the structure is very similar. It's just a different URL. The replacements are all the same. For the download, I actually do redirects because I want to be able to, in case they want to forward me to a bunch of servers, I want to make sure I can download it. And then once you've checked the status of it and you know it's there, you print this out, see what the status of the document is. You're ready to download it once it's ready. And then to do that, you would call the download action. It passes those same variables, populates that same document key and auth key, and then it uses the translate download URL, again specified up here with that expression, replaces that expression with the doc ID, passes these parameters, allows redirects as we talked about before. And then when this is pulled down, when this document comes down, this code will open a new file, which is essentially the name of the document ID that we called upon with a .txt extension. It replaces that expression with a doc ID, and then this is the open with the write bytes, and then I would do a write on that with the content that comes back from this GET request. So let's see it in action. So we created a file here, test3. So let's recall some commands here. So here's test3. Matter of fact, let's do a new file just to kind of keep it fresh. New file, terms test4.txt. We'll go and grab some terms from this large file that we created. So I'll take this right here, paste those in, save that, and then now I can call my DeepL translate method with terms4. So again, I'm calling Python 3 DeepL translate.py, which is my file, translate, which is that command there, that action, and then I'm going to pass in this file here. So let's hit enter. All right, so the document's been prepared. I printed out these friendly statements so that I can just copy and paste them. Now, in my case, I could have parameterized the language, the target language, but I know for my project I'm translating some stuff into Chinese, so I left it there with ZH as the translation language, target language. And we got a file being translated. Now let's check the status of it. So we copy that first command, we paste it here, and this tells us that the status is done. See that there? It was 93 characters build, as you recall. In the DeepL pricing structure, the free plan gives you 500,000 characters per month. So that file was nowhere near that, of course. But yeah, it's done. So now let's download it. So we'll pass on that same. We'll copy some more script here under our download option. Paste that. And so again, what I have it doing is I have it going into download this file and storing it with the document ID name and then that .txt. Now remember, you'll make sure you pass that document key because that's the method it uses to decrypt the file or to handle the encryption that goes on. So this is the file that was created, and it's confirming that download F3. Actually, it's this one. So there we go. There's our Chinese translation of the terms that we added into this terms test.4. So if we grab that, and again, our Chinese users will hopefully recognize some of that language there. But hopefully that helps you. If you need to watch it again, please go ahead and do that. But we'll make this code available in the comments below. Thanks for watching.